Welcome back to Business Vancouver on Roundhouse Radio 98.3. We're the daily business program from the Business in Vancouver newspaper and BIV.com. I'm Kirk LaPointe.
I'm Tyler Orton, and well, it's time for our regular segment with Mark Wardell. This is Management Matters. This week, we're talking all about training and whether it should be worth it for employers, putting in the time, the energy, the resources when it comes to this. Mark, welcome to the show today.
Good to be here.
So tell me a little bit. Benefits for training. Does it really depend on the employee, the skills you want to imbue to them? What's the deal? How do you judge this?
So I think what's great about training is that it helps both the employee and the company. It's one of those great win-win sort of scenarios, right? Where you're helping the employee, they get better, they get stronger, they potentially have a chance to make more money, they grow, they enjoy their life, their work more, they become stronger people. I mean, it's just all sorts of great benefits from training. And then on the company side, of course, we have increased value, increased profitability. So it's one of those really great win-win things that we forget about, I think, so easily in business, because it sort of feels like it's some sort of third thing over here that we pay no attention to.
Well, it also feels for some businesses like a penalty and not an investment.
Absolutely, but we have to look at it because it really, really is an investment. I mean, training, and it doesn't have to cost money or very little money. You can do all kinds of tremendous things for employees to help them to get better, help the company get stronger without focusing on the dollars.
Okay, but what's the stuff that could be on the more economical side of things, though, when we're thinking about training? Because maybe some people are a little reluctant to put down big dollars for employees getting training.
For sure. So, there's external and there's internal training. And if we talk about external training, where we're either hiring people to train our people or going out, send them to a course or something, people really should know about the Canada BC Job Grant. That's a fantastic tool. You can get $10,000, up to $10,000 per employee. They'll pay up for up to 2/3 of the training cost. So that is a fantastic tool. Every province in the country has some kind of version of that. They load up the fund every year, so it's good to get in early, get your name in early, but it's a great thing to know about. And then, of course, my goodness, the internet is full of everything you could possibly imagine for training. And we subscribe to lynda.com. That's another really great one, just for a few bucks. Yeah. You know about that. Lynda is fantastic. Some of the training you get on there, it's really, really great. It costs us next to nothing.
Yeah, I did a webinar for BIV, I think more than one, just learning about stuff like SEO. You sit in front of your computer for an hour and you take notes. Pretty simple solutions to this. You don't have to bring in, a whole team of professionals.
Do you think is it rude for a prospective employee to ask an employer about what kind of training?
No, I think it's a great. I mean, I think it's a really valuable question because it's an indication of the kind of company that you're heading into. So if you want to be in a company that's progressive, that's going to help you to grow, help you become better, and just an environment where you're going to feel challenged and stretched, I think it's good for employees to ask those questions. And I think as an employer, if an employee is asking those kind of questions, it's an indicator that I've got somebody that's a cut above, that somebody actually wants to pursue and wants to get better. So putting that stuff on the table, again, it's great for both sides.
How does it impact maybe, say, something like company growth, though? Are there metrics that you can judge to make sure that this is actually like a successful training that somebody's undergone?
So the studies are all, it's tough with studies because they're all over the place and there's so many variables that move. I mean, one of the things I've read is, you invest at least 2% of your sales into training and you got a 200% return. But it's so hard for me to quantify that. There's so many moving parts. But listen, this is the kind of thing where if I train you, you get better, you provide more value back to the company. It's almost always a win-win. And as long as we do some calculations based on the return, like let's say, for example, we've installed a new CNC machine into our manufacturing plant or something, so obviously to be able to use that properly, we need to train people to be able to use that thing properly. We can calculate some returns on the benefits that's going to come back to the company by, having that machine properly utilized.
How do you think an employer, Mark, effectively gets an employee past any anxiety about training? Because I think a lot of people would like to think, I'm fine what I'm doing. I'm good at it. You want me to try this?
Yeah. So I think culture is the answer to your question to some degree. We've all kind of heard the term a learning organization, right? Which simply means an environment where we try to instill this desire for everyone to learn and people to continue to learn. And if you're learning, I'm learning, we're working together, we're learning, and kind of it builds on itself. But the evolution of that concept, one of my mentors named Dr. Tony Williams, he used to talk about a teaching organization. And I think that is a really good way to look at this. It's not just that I'm somebody that wants to learn. everybody in my company for sure has things to contribute. I don't have all the answers at Wardell, and I need everybody to contribute as well. And so if we start to help each other, you help me, I help you, you develop this really symbiotic positive culture, and people get sucked along into that.
So, Mark, about 10 years ago, before I got into the journalism industry, I was working for a tech company, and they're offering training programs at BCIT. Had a colleague of mine in my department. He went and did that, got like this really important security certificate, said, "See you guys," and he took off. How do you prevent those kinds of situations?
Yeah, so that's what everybody's scared of, right?
Yeah.
People are worried that I'm going to teach you how to do stuff, I'm going to invest in you, and then you're going to leave. To some degree, you can't do anything about that. You need to hire the right kind of people. You need to show people that there's a career opportunity here. You could put a box around it. You could put requirements, but I don't think that does proper justice to to the culture that you're trying to build inside your company.
Because some companies do. They demand
for sure.
that you stay a certain amount of time after you've done your training.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not super in favor of that, though. I think it devalues the culture inside your business, inside your company, when I kind of put that box on people. I want people to want to get better for the goodness of the company. So part of it is making sure that I've got great hiring mechanisms. Part of it is making sure I've got systems in place, and I've got a culture that collects people's new ideas, embodies them into the system, so the company itself gets stronger and healthier, so that if people leave the company, they at least have left something behind. The company is better because they were with us. So I totally get what you're saying, and it is a concern a lot of companies have. But I think that if you put a box around that, you're doing more damage than good to the benefit to your culture of the training.
Well, you said it's a big fear, but is it all that common? Do most people do the right thing and stick around, that they turn this investment around for the company?
In my experience, yeah. I think most people understand and appreciate that the company has helped them out. And if they're leaving, there's possibly a different issue that you've got inside your company that you've got to resolve anyway. That doesn't have to do with how much money you're spending on training. There's some other underlying issue.
Yeah, because if your employee is leaving for a place that may have less of a well-known culture for training, you might be walking into a situation as an employee where you're suddenly going to stagnate. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And so this is why it's sort of a symbiotic win-win. When you train your employees, they get stronger. They become more employable by other people. But at the same time, you're also helping your company to be a stronger place to be.
Do you have to, after someone is trained, start also rewarding them in a different way? Do you think that does training necessitate compensation?
Not exactly. I mean, I think sometimes it does, for sure. There's going to be thresholds where people are looking to improve themselves and to obviously generate more rewards for themselves, and that should be part of the deal. I mean, that's if I give more to the company I'm working for as an employee, I want the opportunity to get more back for me. But there's also intrinsic benefits from training, and training doesn't also, and there's something else to understand, most of the training should be focused on the benefits to the company as a whole to moving forward, but not necessarily all of the training, right? I mean, there are things that employees may be really interested in learning about that right this moment might not seem like they're directly valuable to the company. One of my guys went on a training course that was really helpful and sort of third party, kind of beneficial to the company, but not 100%, but he was really interested in that. And so to me, that's fine. It's no problem, because he's happy, he's learned something, and at some point that knowledge may come back to us. But I've got a happier employee as well.
Yeah, I was also reading a story about Facebook. They're asking all these questions during job interviews. They want to know what people are doing, like beyond just what their skills are. They want to know that they have interests outside of work, and maybe there's even opportunities for them to bring that back in. You're even finding that could be the case with training as well.
Absolutely. But it's also an indicator, which is I think what you're alluding to, of the kind of person that you're hiring.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I've got people that want to get better, aren't those the kind of people that we want to have in our companies? I mean, for sure, right?
And are we moving into this era now, do you think, Mark, where more and more companies are not just trying to invest in training for particular skills, as in how to be more efficient in whatever you're producing, but they're actually trying to deal with more of your personal growth in the kind of training that you're getting. So whether it's your own reflexivity, whether it's your own decision-making approach, whether it's your skills for collaboration, that they're not necessarily just hard and fast, I now know how to code this.
Yeah. So yes, and it's because there are certain fundamentals in business that are portable, right? And so if I teach people or have a methodology or a tool or outside training or whatever that teaches people, for example, how to become better at time management, that's better for them, that's better for the company. They may move through different career paths inside the company, but that's a skill they're going to take with them that's going to benefit the company and themselves all the way up that ladder, no matter where they go. Or leadership skills, communication skills, these kinds of things create a better person, create a better company, and they're very portable. Although you need the skills-based training as well, but that kind of training is really valuable.
Okay, but Mark, should some employers maybe temper expectations? If you have an okay employee, is training them going to make them into a fantastic employee overnight?
Great question. So, yes and no. Some things can be trained. Some things maybe not so much, and that's something we have to pay attention to as well. If skills, knowledge, and competencies, these are things that we can typically train. We can help people to get better at. Value systems and so forth, maybe not so much, or at least it's a tough bet. If something like say, if mommy and daddy didn't do a certain job when you were a kid, is it your job as an employer to do that, or even can you do that as an employer?
Is training really a substitute for, say, a personality conflict or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't think it's a very good solution to it, though. Yeah. And so I guess what I'm saying is that with those kinds of challenges, you may be better off parting ways with that employee. So, I'm not saying we give up on people, but you may discover that you're better off parting ways with people. Because if we hire, I would way rather hire somebody that has less skills. Maybe they're younger, they're hungry, they're willing to work hard, they're interested, they're eager to learn. I would way rather hire that person and then train them up over the years, give them a career path, and invest in that person over time, than I would hire somebody that comes in with tremendous skills but not such a strong set of values.
Do you think you can train attitude?
Maybe when you're young, when you're a child.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to do when you're an adult. And especially the limited resources that people do have in a company, you do have to ask yourself the question, how much am I willing to invest in changing this person's attitude, as opposed to finding somebody that really comes equipped with the right attitude?
Unless it's the owner's son.
I've been through that a few times. Yeah.
So Mark, my recommendation now is all employers grab this interview and they can use this for their training procedures going further. So much that we learned today. I want to thank you for joining us on the show.
It's been a lot of fun. Thanks a lot.
That's Mark Wardell. Of course, he is the president and founder of Wardell International, and you're listening to Business in Vancouver on Roundhouse Radio 98.3. I'm Tyler Orton.
And I'm Kirk LaPointe. That's our program for today. Thanks a lot for listening to Business in Vancouver on Roundhouse. We'll see you next time.